Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well today. So, let's talk about something that's affecting millions of Americans right now, the government shutdown and how it's creating real uncertainty for people who rely on Social Security. This isn't just another news headline. For over 70 million people, this has real, everyday consequences. And what's surprising is how something as routine as the annual Social Security increase, the cost of living adjustment, has suddenly been thrown into question. You might have already heard bits and pieces about it, but the full picture is more serious than many realize. Before we get into it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you feel about all of this? Do you think Social Security will stay reliable through situations like this? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can. Now, here's what's actually happening. Every year, Social Security benefits go up a little to help people keep up with inflation. This increase is called the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA. Normally, that number gets announced in mid-October, right after the inflation data is released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But this year, because of the government shutdown, that data wasn't released on time. And without it, the Social Security Administration couldn't calculate the increase. So, instead of the announcement coming in mid-October, it's now scheduled for October 24th. At first, that might not sound like a huge deal, just short delay. But for people living on fixed incomes, that delay creates uncertainty about what their monthly budget will look like next year. And the increase itself isn't expected to be very big. Experts predict around 2.7 to 2.8%. For the average benefit, that's roughly a $54 monthly increase, bringing the average payment to just over $2,060. Now, for anyone trying to keep up with rent, food, or healthcare, that doesn't stretch very far. In fact, for many households, it's barely enough to cover one extra bill. That small difference matters, though. When every dollar goes toward essentials, even a modest increase can determine whether someone fills a prescription or decides to skip it that month. For millions, these aren't small choices. They're the difference between staying secure or falling behind. But here's the bigger problem. This delay shows how fragile the system has become. The Social Security Administration has been dealing with staff shortages for years. In fact, about 12% of its workforce, that's around 7,000 employees, has been cut in recent years. That means fewer people to answer phones, process paperwork, and handle all the behind-the-scenes work that keeps the program running smoothly. Now, with so many offices short-staffed, even routine updates like COLA calculations become more complicated. There's real concern among experts that if shutdowns or staffing problems continue, it could lead to delays in benefit processing or even payment errors down the line. And, this isn't the first time people on Social Security have had to deal with uncertainty. Back in 2010 and 2011, there wasn't any COLA increase at all, 0%. Prices kept rising, but checks stayed the same. Without these annual adjustments, the value of those benefits goes down fast. For example, someone receiving $2,000 a month back then would have lost nearly half their purchasing power today if those adjustments hadn't existed. Even with increases, there's another issue that keeps coming up: Medicare. Many people don't realize that rising Medicare premiums often cancel out a big chunk of the COLA. For 2026, Medicare Part B premiums are projected to go up by more than 11%, which means an extra $21 or so each month. So if your Social Security check goes up by $54, but your Medicare cost goes up by $21, you're really only getting about $33 more in your pocket. That's not much, especially with prices still high everywhere you look. Now, a big question people have been asking is, why is this still happening every year? Why is something so important tied up in all these delays and political debates? The answer lies in how the government measures inflation for Social Security. It uses something called the CPIW, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. The issue is that index doesn't fully reflect what older adults actually spend money on. It focuses more on expenses for working households instead of retirees. That's why some lawmakers have pushed a switch to what's called the CPI, the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. This version weighs healthcare, housing, and prescription costs more heavily, things that take up a bigger portion of older Americans' budgets. But so far, that change hasn't passed through Congress. So every year, the debate starts again and the same problems come up. And what's happening now has made a lot of people lose confidence in the system itself. Surveys show that more and more Americans aren't sure if their benefits will arrive on time, or even if the program will still exist as it is in the future. It's not just about the money anymore, it's about trust. That trust has already been tested in recent reports showing that the Social Security Trust Fund could run out of reserves by 2034. If nothing changes, benefits could be automatically reduced by around 20% after that. Imagine suddenly losing a fifth of your income after planning your whole life around that check. Now, to their credit, the Social Security Administration and the Bureau of Labor Statistics are working to minimize the damage this time around. Some furloughed workers have been called back to finish the inflation report, so Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. October 24th, most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. October 24th deadline can be met. Officials have also said that benefits for 2026 should still begin on schedule. No delays expected for payments. That's good news for now, but it doesn't solve the larger problem. Because really, these are stopgap fixes. Calling employees back from furlough just to keep things running shouldn't be the long-term plan. It's like patching a leaky roof instead of replacing it. It might hold for now, but eventually something gives. You see, the shutdown itself was caused by budget disagreements in Congress, and that debate is about how to fund the government moving forward. The administration has argued that tighter budgets are needed to keep programs like Social Security stable in the long run. But critics say that cutting staff or delaying reports only hurts the very people the program is meant to protect. It's one of those situations where both sides claim to be protecting the system, but the people who actually rely on it are the ones caught in the middle. And let's be honest, for many Americans, Social Security isn't a side income. It's the main one. It's what pays for groceries, rent, and medicine. When payments are delayed, or when increases don't keep up with inflation, it's not just an inconvenience. It's a direct hit to people's everyday lives. Now, one thing that always stands out to me is how patient and resilient so many beneficiaries are. They've been through shutdowns before, through years without increases, through promises that didn't get delivered. And still, they keep adapting. But that doesn't mean things should stay this way. There's a growing sense that it's time for the government to treat Social Security like the essential service it is, not something that gets tossed into every political argument. So then, what can we expect next? Well, all eyes are on October 24th. That's when the final inflation numbers will come out and the new COLA will finally be announced. And while it may not be a huge increase, it's still something. A small adjustment to help keep pace with rising costs. But the real question isn't just what the number will be this year. It's whether the system behind it can keep working reliably in the future. And that's something we'll be following closely. Because while the amount of the COLA might change year to year, one thing stays the same. People depend on it. They depend on it for their peace of mind, for their independence, and for a sense of security that shouldn't have to be questioned every time there's a shutdown. So what do you think? Should the government create stronger safeguards to keep Social Security separate from shutdown politics? Or do you think things will eventually balance out? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them down below. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.